I'm going to do a quick video here on the control loaders. A lot of people have had issues with the speed feeds popping up on them. It depends upon how hard you play with them and the circumstances of where the position of the speed feed is, whether or not it will pop open or not. But there's definitely an issue with too much clearance at the latch, and if the speed feed slides further forward, it doesn't have much to hook on, so it's easy for it to pop open. I've modified my speed feeds so that won't be an issue. Just to clear up one little tidbit of information, people think that if you buy the Enter that it works better or versus the original speed feed, but that's just not the case. They're the exact same design as far as where they hook in and also where they latch. So if you own a regular crown speed feed and it doesn't hook well, if you think buying an Enter will change that, it won't. So let's just go ahead and dispel that. I've already taken this speed feed apart. If you look, it looks kind of floppy here because I've already taken the screws out of it, because I'm going to show you how to modify them. So I'm going to take that off right this second. But what I do want to show you here is, doesn't show up well against the black, so let me put it on my camo version so I can show you the issue. So whenever you pop this in, let me get some. This one actually snaps in pretty snug, but there's a little bit of back and forth play once it's snapped in there, and that's really all it takes for this thing to hook and not hook. Now this is the modified latch. If you buy a brand new speed feed, this is the closed position right here. So whenever you release your finger off of it, this is as much as it closes. I've modified them so that they now close completely. So it grabs this section of the control much tighter and more completely. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like, whenever you have this hooked in there, you can see that it's got some of the lining there with this bar here that it's hooking to. What basically Bunkerkings is saying is to pull this back, and you can see it engages the latch more by doing that, but it can move just by feeding paint into it. This thing can move around. Now the factory speed feed will only close about this much here, so you can see, you can see how much of that is still showing, and it doesn't take a lot for that to unhook. By me modifying it, it pulls this closed, so it wants to stay more engaged. So you no longer really have that issue with it riding out here so much, because it naturally wants to pull itself closed. And then also the clasp itself completely grabs all the way over instead of stopping midway like that. That's the normal position versus that. So let me show you how I'm doing this. It's pretty quick and easy. So I've got original speed feed, and I took the time just to take the screws out so that you guys wouldn't be dealing with that. These things will fall out once you take all the screws out from underneath it. You can take them out beforehand, it doesn't really matter. Let me get these off to the side. So the only thing that you have to worry about once you've taken the screws out is you'll try and separate it here, and you'll see that it still doesn't want to come, well, actually in this case it did come apart. It's got a little paint in here, but I have had instances where I've had to pop these two little there's two little tangs here on this side of it. These will grab on the back of this, and you may have to pop those loose a little bit. So the latch will stay in it, so you don't have to worry about that falling off or anything. So this piece doesn't get touched. You can see as soon as you take this out, it'll naturally just fall closed on its own. What's stopping it is whenever you take this off, there's a bar basically, or a protrusion that sits right here that extends up on both sides of this, and all I did is just kind of took some cutters and cut it off. You can use a razor blade and just cut down and get some of this stuff out of the way. This one's still not completely cut down on the edge right here versus this one. I completely cut out. You can see how it's flat right there, and then this one I didn't do quite as good of a job, and that's what was catching a little bit. I could just take a razor blade and go straight down to take that little bit off there, and that will solve that. But that's literally all you have to do. Is when you take it off, you'll see what I'm talking about. But you'll remove those two pieces, and then you'll basically just put the speed feed back together again. Yep. Trying to do this upside down, it's kind of hard to see. Yep. That's one of the problems. I'm putting it on backwards. So you'll basically pop that back down, put the screws back in it, pop the fingers in it, and then the clasp will fall forward. So just trying to get it in the light. Yeah, and then the clasp will fall forward after that, after you remove the pieces right here that stop this from going forward. Normally you have something that's sitting like that that holds that forward. Once you remove those, then it releases the clip. So that is my fix. Like I said, I've seen some people shove stuff up in this part where the speed feed runs in. I've had people say they've shoved stuff in there which keeps this, you know, further out, which may help it engage more. But for literally the couple minutes it takes to modify this, I don't know. I mean, it just depends on how much of a trouble it is for you. Well, hope that helps. Bye.